We are starting the recording and starting the notes. Okay, awesome. All right, and you all should be able to see my screen with my slides on it. Welcome everyone to Family Tree Tech Office Hours. I am Natalie Webb, and this month we're talking about Stephen Morse's one-step web page. So let's get started. Steve Morse was, his website was one of the first ones I found when I started doing genealogy around 2000, 2001. And he was such a big help, both for, I think, the genealogy world in general and me in particular, because he was one of the first people to start putting together a website for searching various websites. This is before Ancestry even had their site. Family Tree was just getting started. He started his website when Ellis Islands began to put their records online, because their records were very hard to search. In the very beginning, if you had to go on their site, there were multiple steps. If you weren't technical, it was difficult. And he was an engineer. He worked for Intel. He's got a number of patents under his belt for different computer chips. And he saw the need, both, for genealogy and then also from a tech perspective, to put together a website to help people search, specifically Ellis Island. And then it kind of exploded from there. His website currently has about 290 different pages, and they're from everything from immigration to tax records to names of ships coming into the U.S. from all over the world. He was born in Brooklyn in New York City and has a lot of various pieces of information and old newspapers. And somebody in, I think there was a Family Tree article about his work, and they called his website a hodgepodge of discoveries, because there's a lot of information there, and we'll look at it in a minute. And it's like you're digging for treasure. It's really a great site. What I've done here on the right-hand side is I had ChatGPT look at his website and make me a word map of all of the different types of pages that he has. And the larger the word, the more pages he has for that word. So immigration obviously is the biggest, U.S. Census and Population, and he's got smaller things for newspapers and directories and tax records and all kinds of things. But the biggest ones that I wanted to focus on today were immigration and the U.S. Census, specifically enumeration maps, because that's how I found him, and those I think are still very useful today. So here they actually, I listed the number of pages for each type. So he's got 59 pages specifically on immigration, which is a lot. So let me now switch over to his website. Give me 1 second. I have way too many pages up. Okay. All right, here we go. So his website is very simple. It really is just a list of links to his other pages. There's no real art. There's no, nothing to advertise the page, really, which is good if you're not very technical, because it makes it very simple to find what you're looking for. On the other hand, as he develops things, he just sticks the link in, so he doesn't really take anything away when it becomes less useful. So it's a very long list of all different kinds of information. Up on top, and this is what we're going to be doing first, we have, excuse me, the first web pages that he developed, which was for Ellis Island back in the day. And then he has sets of lists where you can search ancestry from his page or family search. I love this down here, looking for ship pictures. It's always fun to see what they look like. And then for his other work, you really just keep scrolling down, and there's all kinds of information. He has Soundexes, which is searching based on phonetics for both English and Hebrew, and I think that there's Cyrillic in there as well. Other censuses, Canadian, British, New York, which again, very important to me, and a whole host of other. I could just keep scrolling down. We'd be here all day. So let's talk about the census, the immigration pages. For both, for Ellis Island, he has two forms. He calls the gold form and the white form. And he developed the white form first. And I'll click on this, and it's reading the data from the Ellis Island database. So the thing I like about this is that if you've ever gone on Ellis Island, on that site to look for a manifest, when they bring you up the manifest that you've found, it's in a very small box, and you have to kind of pan around to see everything. But here the information just comes in rows, so it's really easy. So let's say I want to search for Antonio Massa, who was my great great grandfather. And I know he came from Naples. And I'm not even going to put year of arrival. It can search for whatever it wants. Hits per page is the number of results you want per page. I find that for my screen, I could see 50 rows on a page easily. You're going to want to keep this at 25 if you're working on a laptop. Or if you think you're going to get a lot of results, like hundreds of results, then you'll want to make it higher, because you can scan down the page and you'll go through less pages. But let's start with this. So I hit search, and it's thinking about it. And here I come back with a whole bunch of Antonio Massas, because he's come many times. And if I look here, I know he came around 1924. So if I go here, now remember, this is the same information that's on Ellis Island. I just find it easier to read here. We'll look at this line 31, Antonio Massa, October 26, 1924. I'll show details. It'll take a second, and then there's my information on him. And if I wanted further information, it gives me the roll of film in the National Archives that it has his information is on. So if I wanted to look for more information than just what I have here, I could go do that. So let's go back, and it opens in a new page, which is also nice because I can do multiple searches and leave my pages open. So let's say I wanted to search for his wife, who came over, I believe, under the name Rosa Esposito. He also departed from Naples. I'll leave the dates separate, and I believe she came over later. She came over she came over for good in the 40s. Where is it? Where'd it go? Oh, there she is. And again, I have Rosa Esposito, line 27. And if I scroll across, I can show the details. And there's her information. And she came over on the Satinera. That's the name of the boat. So, so we'll go back to the Ellis Island. And remember, this is the white page, the first search page he ever did for Ellis Island. If I wanted to switch to the gold page, I could do it up here. Now, the difference between the white and the gold are the years. The white, I think, was from 1892 to 1820. No, sorry, had it backwards. This is from 1820 to 1957. If I wanted specifically for 1892 to 1924, I could use the gold form. And the difference with the gold form, you'd be wondering, why would I use the gold form? Because the gold form, I can also search the same data in the white form, but the gold form has more information available on it. So you see here that the search engine is much broader, and I can look for more information, and I can put in different information. So again, it actually populated my data from before, so I still have Rosa Esposito, and it didn't, though. Did it take the town? Oh, there is no town. Okay. All right, so her name's in there. Okay, so I'll hit search, and again, it'll give me all the Rosa Esposito. It's thinking about it for a minute. And I can look in here to see, and the gold form will let me view the actual manifest. So if I pick on a random Rosa Esposito, it should take me to the manifest from Ellis Island. So let's give it a minute. Okay, and this is what I mean. The image is kind of small, and trying to get around it is a little more difficult. So I like doing this. I'd rather do it on Steve Morse's site because it's already transcribed the data for me, and it's just gives it to me in a row. So let's close all my Ellis Islands. Now, the other thing he has is a form to search Castle Gardens. And if you know anybody who's immigrated through New York, you may know that before Ellis Island opened up in 1892, and before that, people came in through Castle Gardens. So it's a separate set of forms, and he has those as well. So we can search on those. So I'm not going to do it again. Let me go back to the main page. SteveMorse.org. Let's just, there we go. So that's Ellis Island. One more thing about the gold form that I wanted to mention that I thought was, no, I'm sorry, that's my fault. One more thing about the white form that I wanted to mention that I found really interesting is you can search just on, you don't need a name. You can search just on town, or just on departure point, or just on a last name, or even a first name, although I don't know why you would just search on a first name. But for instance, if I wanted to search on, all of my relatives came from a small town called Piano di Sorrento, which is about 30 minutes south of Naples. So I could just search for anyone who's listed their residence as Piano di Sorrento. So that gives me, oh, I may have a blip because this worked when I rehearsed it. Okay, just so you know that that does work. But I don't know if there's a blip going on the site now, which of course would. Murphy's Law. But you can search on things other than the name. So that's always interesting. And if you wanted to search, if you knew the ship and the date that they arrived, you could search on that. All kinds of things. It's much more uh, versatile than anything you would get at Ancestry or Family Search, where you really need to put the name in. So that's another benefit of them. You can search through Ancestry from them and Family Search. You're getting the same information that you'd be getting. Family Search obviously is free. Ancestry, they're going to make you log in with your ID and password, so don't think you'll be getting Ancestry information for free. You will have to log in order to get the information. And then, like I said, there's all kinds of things, the ship pictures, and it converts the narrow rolls if you need that. I invite you to explore this website because there's a ton of information. So that's immigration. Now let me talk about enumeration, and I want to go back to my slides for a minute. This is how I found Steve Morse. Census enumeration, let me make this a little bigger. When you had a U.S. census or even a state census, the method of figuring out which census taker went to which address was a pretty routine system. First, the people that were controlling the census would lay down a map of the town or the city. Again, I'm using Brooklyn as my example because my ancestors, I basically say that all of my ancestors from all of the branches came over from Europe, got off at Ellis Island, sat down in Brooklyn, and never moved. So I know Brooklyn really well because everyone in my family tree landed there at some point. So what they would do is they would, the owners of the census would put down a map and then divide the town or city into different sections. And those were called enumeration districts. And they were small sections of the city. Each map got a number. And then they would assign specific people to do the census in each enumeration map, in each small section. Brooklyn, actually, because it was so large, did two levels. They did AD, which is Assembly District, and then within Assembly District, they did Enumeration District. So what it does is it converts the town into a map of numbers, and they're just numbered sections that then correspond to the census pages that you see. They're the numbers at the top of every census page. So this is really good if you can't find your people by looking up their name in the census. And I had this problem. The example I'm going to give you is the 1915 New York census. My ancestors were Frank and Anna Russo, R-U-S-S-O, and they had a bunch of kids. And I think they had 16 children altogether. And the way that I tended to identify them in censuses is if I saw a list of the kids with the correct ages in the correct order, I knew it had to be them because nobody would have that many kids in the same order. But in 1915, I knew where they were because I had a birth certificate with the correct address on it for that year, but I couldn't find them when I searched through Family Search or through Ancestry under their names. It just wasn't coming up. So since I knew the address, I could look at the enumeration map and figure out which number it was and look at the census that way. So I'm going to show you how we did this. So it's a 4-step process, and Steve Morse helps you with this. You need the home address of whoever you're looking for. And then we'll go into Google Maps and look up the cross streets, plug the data into Steve Morse's website, and it will spit back out the enumeration district. So let's do one because it's less confusing than it may sound once we start doing it. So I know the home address. It's 2817 West 16th Street in Brooklyn. I can look up the cross streets on Google Maps, which I've done. It's Neptune Avenue and Mermaid Avenue. And I think, do I have the... Let's just do it real quick. I'm pretty sure that most of you have seen Google Maps, but let me do it really quick just to search. So Google Maps comes up. It's Google Maps, google.com/maps. I've already searched 2817, so it's there in my history, although I could just type it into this text box again if I wanted to. And here it is, the house that my ancestors lived in 1915, 2817 West 16th Street, and my cross streets are Neptune to the north, and this is, I have to scroll over a little bit, Mermaid to the south. So once I have those two, what I'll do is I'll go to Steve Morse's webpage, and I'll look under New York Census. And here, what we have now, New York had the federal census on the 0 years every 10 years, and it also had city and state censuses on the 5s. So I'm looking for the 1915 New York Census. So to do that, I'll look at the New York Census AD/ED Finder, Assembly District, Enumeration District. And here I can mark in this box which one I'm looking for. New York is broken up into 5 boroughs, Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, Staten Island. So I'm looking for Brooklyn and I'm looking for 1915. So I put my dot there. And now on the bottom here, it tells me to put in the house number, which we know is 2817, and the street. And I want 16th Street West. And I'll hit submit. Now this one, because West 16th is a short street, it doesn't ask me to put in the cross streets. For longer streets, especially some of the ones in Manhattan that go for miles, it will ask you at this point to put in the cross streets, but I don't have to do that. So it'll tell me, if you look across the top here, the AD is 16, the ED is 2. I can do one of two things. I can either click on the images here, and it will display the census for AD 16, ED 2. Now it just gives me the book, right? Because remember, the enumeration district number 2 is a section of a map. So there are going to be many houses and many people on this map. But searching through, what is this, 46 pages? 46 pages is a lot better than searching through all of Brooklyn for 1915. So I'm going to look, and I've done this before. I'm not going to make you look with me through all the pages, but I know that on page 7, we have, you can see here, I'll blow it up as much as I can, Frank and Annie Russell instead of Russo, and all of their children that are living with them at that time in the order and of the ages that they are supposed to be. So I was able to find them because I knew the house number, but I didn't know the name because they were it was spelled differently and it wasn't coming up in the search. Now, you can also take this information, the AD and the ED, and plug it into Ancestry or Family Search. If you go to the area where it asks you to browse the data or browse the ED or the AD. You can look it up that way. So if you don't know a name, this is a great way to be able to find people, as long as you know an address. And frankly, you don't even need to know if you get to the block, if you get to the right block, you can probably scan through people and find who you're looking for. The only thing to remember with these censuses, if you've looked at them in towns, you may get both sides of of a single street in a town uh, on the same piece of paper, but in the city, they tend to go all the way down one side of the street and then all the way back up the other. So just because your address is on one side of the street doesn't mean that the other side of the street is in the same ED. It may be in a different ED, or it may be listed in a different part of the document. So you want to be careful for that. So that is the two that I really wanted to go through the most. Was the really quickly on the enumeration and on the census. But I do want to encourage you to go through this. He also has immigration for Baltimore, Boston, Galveston, even in New Orleans. There is such a great amount of information here that it's something definitely to take a look at. If you go down, it's like I said, especially for New York, if you go down, you'll have, there were some newspapers, and he's got Social Security in here, a whole bunch of stuff going on. So I definitely encourage you to take a look at it. Steve speaks, at this point, he's definitely retired. I think he's in his 80s. He speaks a couple of times a year, usually virtually. If you can grab a seat at one of his lectures, they're always great. So I definitely would encourage you to do that as well if you can. So we've gone through enumeration lookup process. And that is it for those two and for Steve Morse's website. I did want to remind you that I have webinars in the Legacy Library and more coming up this year if you want to check out more of my stuff. I know I put this in every single newsletter I send out, but I've got my AI for genealogists books that is on Amazon if you want to take a look at it. If you need the link, just look for it in my next newsletter. It's there every week. If you're interested in AI at all, I definitely invite you to take a look at it. And thank you for watching. I was very excited to give this lecture because I love Steve Morse's stuff. So I'm going to close I'm going to close the slides and ask if there are any questions. Has anybody else besides me used Steve Morse? Okay, I'm looking. I've lost the chat. Oh, there's the chat. Okay. Well, you're welcome. There isn't a syllabus for this one, but what I'll do is I'll post the slides on Facebook, and I'll also send the slides out to everyone who does not use Facebook, who asked me for the link to this page. I have all your emails in my Gmail, so I can send this out as well. I won't be able to send the slides out and the uh, get the video out until tomorrow. I actually have to run right after this. I have some errands to do. So sometime tomorrow, probably during the Yankee game, because that's when I tend to do my all of my email. I'll do it during the ball game. You'll see the emails come through with the slides, and I'll post the video on Facebook. So thank you for watching. I hope you have gotten something out of it. And yeah, it's if you have any questions, if I went through something too fast and you're not sure how to use something, please feel free to email me, and I'll either answer you right back, or maybe we'll put it in a future newsletter. So, oh yes. If you have who is Diane? If you have a uh an ancestor with a very unusual name, that's not a bad way to look for it. If she's got, you can just search for first name. Like I said, all of my Italian ancestors are Anns and Marias and Rosas, and there's no way I'm going to do that. But if you have someone with a very unique first name, definitely give it a try. So, okay, everyone. Well, thank you for joining, and we will get together again soon. Right. I hope everybody has a good day. Okay, take care. Bye.